Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Route to Freedom podcast. I'm Bill Birch, and this is my wife, Sharon.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. Hey, today, what we're going to talk about are what we would do differently if we had buying a pool service business to do again. So what would we have done differently? And it's a great question, Sharon, that you're the one that actually came up with that and said, yeah, we should probably talk about this. So yeah, it's there are a few things. I don't know about you. I guess if you don't mind, I'll kick off because it's hot on my head.
Sure.
I would lighten up. I was way too uptight when we bought that, and I did not give myself much grace. So we bought it knowing that there were things that needed to be improved. But for some reason, the moment we bought it, all of a sudden it was my fault that everything needed to be improved. And that made me work a lot and made me uptight and tense and was not, I don't know what happened. It just all of a sudden changed my experience. I went from being super excited and ready to go to, holy crap, I got a lot of stuff to do. And this is not done. That's not done. And this doesn't work well. And that thing's broke. And this is over here. And that's a mess. And these people, where are this? And there's that. Why is that name on the dry erase board? How come we've never fixed that yet? What's going on over here? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think that was, I'm trying to pinpoint that was underlying that, like, wow, we've done it, kind of a fear of failure? I mean, would that be part of it?
I don't know. I don't want this to sound arrogant. I don't know that I was afraid of failure.
Yeah, it's not arrogant.
But I didn't feel like we're going to fail. I take that back. Not as a business, but all these tiny things, I was afraid they were a failure and they were my fault. I did not say, I wasn't running around going, well, he should have done this and he should have done that and he should do this. It was like, that is my problem. Whatever the problem
I own
is
this
that.
now. Yeah.
That's right.
I own this problem.
That truck that has not been maintained like it should have been needs maintenance. The fact that it needs maintenance is my fault. And I've got to get on that. But there was just such a countless list, or it felt like a countless list when we started. Yeah. So that would be the big thing, which would lead me to the next thing that I would change is I would have been less patient with bad behavior, but I was already so uptight. I was just looking for some kind of stability and I didn't want staff turnover, even bad behaving staff. I just wanted to father them along and hope that I could make them good people and it would work out. That didn't work. So yeah, that probably would have been my second thing. I would have started higher. I guess the first thing I would have done is talk to my best one or two staff, ask them what I should be looking for in a great tech because I thought they were great. And then I should have started advertising for techs immediately. I was so focused on keeping everyone and I didn't think, I'm going to have to go hire more people, but I needed to. So then a couple of the employees immediately wanted to test and see what they could get away with and push me. They're like, this guy's in a pinch. He needs me. This is the time for me to hold him hostage. And I can't.
I think that's a really. No, you didn't.
But I was patient with it longer than I should have been. But if I'd had those ads out there, if I was already interviewing people, that would have put me in a better position with those to hold those staff accountable. Could have hired a couple people. Seeing if I could find someone that was going to behave better, not perfectly. Yeah.
It's a tricky dance, but I think it's good to share this information if you haven't gone through this before. And it's probably true for any business, not just a pool service business. But when you're adopting an existing business as well, it might be even more. It literally feels like you're drinking from a fire hose. Because there's just so much coming at you and it's a new industry, new staff that you're building relationships, they're testing you. Part of my background, along with being an entrepreneur, several online businesses and things, is a teacher. So I was also a teacher for 21 years and also a mom. And there's a correlation at like having a staff it's people, and people are going to, especially new, like, are they going to stick? What are they like? What do I get? Even if they don't realize they're doing it, they're testing you. And even the good staff, the ones that you love, they're also testing you and looking at you like, okay, who are these people? Am I going to like working for them? Do I want to stay at this job? So you feel that current. And so you've got that in addition to.
Right. And they're watching how you're interacting with other staff.
Right.
They're trying to figure out what your rules are.
Right. Exactly. And then that's kind of that dance. And I think that was probably one of the reasons that we were a little bit slower to get rid of bad behaving staff because we weren't for sure if they were. Takes a minute to figure that piece out. But if we had recognized it earlier and then got rid of them earlier, we would have built even more trust with the great staff. Like, okay, they've got this, they're going to take care of it. And I'm going to like working with these people, because they get annoyed with the people who aren't carrying their weight. I remember one who always had his truck just right and set, and somebody else got in his truck and then screwed it up and messed it up, then he was irritated, and rightfully so, because he took a lot of pride in doing things well. So that's really important. And from a staff side, I kind of did the same thing going in with the office manager who had been there for years, close to a couple decades, I think, but was very old school. And of course, she was concerned for her job. The wool had been, what do they say? The rug has been pulled out from underneath her. So, when you have this thing of a transition of obviously the owner who is selling the business doesn't want to share that information until the deal is done and the money is in the bank, because he might lose his staff and the deal might not close. So he's got to keep it a secret. He can't tell his team. So then when that day happens, and it happens quickly, it feels like a violation of trust to that team. They feel that their trust has been violated by the boss that they thought they could trust. And so that puts them off kilter. And it can, depending on who they are and their attachment, I guess, in relationship, they can feel a lot of panic. In this case, the office manager knew that she was highly needed and that the owner depended on her to chase the money, and they chased money because they didn't have automated systems. Everything was paper, file cabinets.
More than that, can we talk about that for just a little bit?
Sure.
The seller did truly count on her.
Yeah, truly.
And he did count on her to chase money, but she was chasing money because there were no real consistent systems in that office. She wasn't using a report. It's still hard for me to understand how they could do what they did, how they could survive. Because when we got in, you get in, you start looking at the file systems, and they were using QuickBooks to generate bills, but they weren't using it in a traditional fashion. They were just opening a brand new invoice, putting in what she thought should go in there, and then sending it to the customer. But then there wasn't a record of it. So I think you ran into issues when you're asking for something actually recently historic, like within the last month.
And I do want to be fair. She had her own system, and they were doing the best that they could with what they knew. And since technology was a challenge, they didn't realize what was possible. So the system was carry around a clipboard.
Wasn't a good fit anyway, because that was not didn't match their skill sets.
Right. But it was a clipboard with paper, and dependent on the pool tech to write on that chart and pencil how much, or pen, doesn't matter, but write on that chart how much they put in the pool and then drop it off. And that's what she would use to create the invoices. It's handwriting is not the same, and people make mistakes, and
they missed
so
stuff.
It was, they missed stuff.
Calls, people were, hey, I'd really love to pay you for doing this, but I've not seen anything yet. And
I haven't seen an invoice. Right. And for repair work, that one was tough because they were using sticky notes and like a whiteboard. And so if somebody would forget that there was to bring the right sticky note to the right person, and then the sticky note gets lost, that just got dropped. And then we would have a customer, hey, I thought you were going to repair this. Hey, you guys haven't sent me an invoice. It did get repaired, but then nobody forgot to tell the next person that was done, or forgot to tell the office manager that was done, and what was included. So it was just
there was no system to even. You couldn't take the invoice from our equipment or suppliers and then track it to make sure that whatever that item was, that it had made it into somebody's bill. So there was no way to track that discrepancy. But I think are you saying that you were equally or somewhat over patient with that for a while, trying to assume that there was more there, and there was
and it's an interesting thing, because I do know that we waited too long, but at the same time, it's hard because you need that historical knowledge of exactly what is going on, what is the communication with customers, where are we at? And she was the only one that knew, and most of it was in her head. So it made it difficult to know, well, okay, I still need this knowledge. But then it was just becoming, it was just a huge time waster trying to do it. And on top of that, she could sense that her job might be, lost. And that wasn't the original intent. our hope was actually that she could adopt and learn the new system and her life would be easier, but there would be somebody answering the phone. But just I
she
guess
would have
all
done
of
a
that
lot more.
she would have done a lot more, but it was just what we were introducing and was beyond the capacity. And there was just so many emotional mental blocks going on that it made it even more difficult. So I don't know, the question is, what would you do differently? It's kind of, I don't know. I think it would have been nice if I had a magic wand. I knew where it was going to end. Then I would have just let her go earlier and then just dealt with what I didn't know and find out from the customers. But it was tricky because it was all over the map.
Right. That first month was tough because there wasn't consistency that you could. It wasn't like you were trying to.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't feel like we were transferring from one system to another. It felt like we were transferring from no systems because they were in her head. Like you said, she had her way of doing it, but
yeah. So
but it was in her head. It wasn't.
Right.
And it wasn't the same way all the time. She didn't handle things the same
Right.
way.
So,
she just kind of knew what was going on, so she would try to do.
She had her own
whatever.
system, but it
Yeah.
was trying to figure out what is that system. And it seemed to vary depending on who the customer was. So it was difficult to systemize because there was a lot of like grandfather, well, the way they do this and just kinds of things. Anyway, how would I handle it differently? Only with a magic wand and knowing what was going to happen forward. That's a tough one. But I think our rollout of software was actually fairly good.
Mm-hmm.
We took it one step at a time. We didn't just like push it on them. I had a whole strategy and we could take a session just to talk about how we rolled it out.
Start pretty quick. I would say within a week. Weren't we talking about what was
Yeah,
coming?
we let them know that was coming, but that we were going to work and it was going to make their life easier. And then I had a strategy of when saying that, you can tell when you're looking at, you read people's faces and you can see the people that light up like, cool. And then you see the people like, no. And so working with the person, it's like, oh, cool first. So you can kind of work with them and work out the bugs and find out the challenges and make that, because it's software. So you also have to set it up correctly that works with your business. And it takes that little trial and error. So doing that only with the person who's techie and excited to be part of the process. Wait till that's done, then roll it out. So we did it in kind of I'd say a 3-phase. Second phase was, okay, we're all going to use it, but our customers have no idea that behind the scenes we're using it. And then phase 3 was going, hey, customers, guess what? Now you're going to get notifications and all the bells and whistles, so that we've kind of worked out all the oopses and the mistakes didn't show up on the customer's email. But that worked out beforehand. So that worked out well.
I don't know if you remember, we had door hangers. So when we finished a pool, we put a note on the door, hung on the door, said what we'd done while we were there. And the door hangers went away because that automation sent the customer an email. As soon as they hit finish, they got an email with pictures and details of what we'd done. So that went away. And that was tough for some customers to deal with. That took a little while to roll that in because they were calling, complaining that, feeling like we hadn't been there, but they didn't look at texts or emails to speak of. So, yeah.
I guess the only other, we were kind of talking about this. I think I would have taken more time myself. You did this very well. I would have taken more time to like each day ride in a truck with a different tech. I think that would have taught me more quickly, that each tech operated differently, because I did do that with a couple of techs and I learned that quickly. Oh, wow, that's a lot different than that other truck ride I had. And it would do two things. I would learn that about them without saying it. I would be able to also bond with that tech and learn kind of where they're at, and that they felt like they got to know me and I felt like I got to know them a little bit beyond what they're doing on the job. So I think that would have been a good idea for me to do with every tech and not just a couple of them. And that really starts to establish a relationship that you care. Plus you kind of start to learn more about their personality and what you might need to do when you're training ththese new things that's going to help it be easier for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Moving along, I think I just think of one more thing. I probably would have been more strategic, which is, I'm playing off of what you're just saying. I would have been more strategic about how I spent my time. And then if I had slowed down just a little bit and said, okay, how much time should I spend on repairing things that we owned, equipment, trucks, whatever. How much time should I spend on admin in the office, making sure that I do the bill? If I would have built that into a schedule, because I was just showing up super early and then just
Running.
flying by the seat of my pants. Yeah, I would pick. It was like, oh, that looks like it's the biggest fire. I'm going to go work on. Oh no, that looks. So next thing you know, I was juggling. I wouldn't finish that project. Wouldn't finish that project. Wouldn't finish that project. I'd have to go back to that project. Then I'd go over here, and something else would happen, and it felt more out of control than what I was used to historically. It'd been a long time since I was that on the ground. It's different when you've got 150 employees and 6 managers, and you're managing the managers, and now all of a sudden you're frontline. So yeah, I would have been more strategic about that. Somehow I was a little overconfident about what I could do and felt like it was going to take care of itself. And really, that's what I would have told a manager. I would have said, hey, slow down. You're killing yourself. You don't have to do it all today. I don't expect you to have it all today. Let's talk about what's most important, what's next most important. All right, let's schedule some time you can dedicate, or you do that, schedule some time to dedicate to that priority. After you've got your hour or two into it, then go to the second one and do it for, and just keep working on it. But I did not do that for myself. So I would have done that. And maybe that would have come with, giving yourself some grace, because it's easy as an entrepreneur to beat yourself up, to suffer from imposter syndrome, I know there's some people that don't feel that way. Me, it's like, what makes me any better than them? Why shouldn't I have to do this if they have to do it? If I'm not willing to do it, how can I ask them to do it? But in the end, they're not going to come in and look at the financials and make decisions on how to treat things. They're not going to go to the customer's house and treat them the way I'm going to treat you. So as an owner, you definitely have responsibilities that you are the only one that can do. And thus you can't do everything else just like everybody else at the same time. So yeah, I think that'd be about it.
Yeah. That being said, the fact that you were so boots on the ground, I think earned a lot of respect fast. Because they weren't expecting that. They were expecting somebody that just sat behind the desk and wasn't out there. And they were not expecting that the newbie owner would go out and actually do stuff. I remember early on repair work where maybe they were stumped and were very surprised that, and you looked at it because that's just kind of how your brain works. You're like, wait a minute, common sense. What if we do this? Because it's kind of in your skill set. And that quickly earned respect. So I do think there was definitely great value, because they don't understand. Typically, they've not been business owners themselves, or the vast majority. So they don't understand the value of the work that you have to do at the desk. Sure. I don't know. It's hard. It's like you said, it's going back. It's like, well, could I have done that differently? Parts of it, probably, knowing what I know now. Parts of it, I'm not sure, because you almost had to do that for certain reasons. But yeah.
So overall, I think that's about it. I can't think of a lot of it went well.
It really did. It really did go well. It didn't mean it was painless. It was pain. Right. I mean, just pain in like, oh man, the phone call in the early on, the phone calls and uncomfortable phone calls, or clients and customers who are scared that their pool service is going to get dropped or not going to be as good. Who do they yell at? Who are these people? So it takes more time on the phone and in person with everybody than you would expect in the beginning.
Yeah. And there's another, it's not a big thing, and I don't know that it'd be real common, but the prior owner was in the midst of quoting a few different projects, repair projects. And my assumption was that they must be great people. I assumed, I'm thinking of one in particular, that they were good people, and I really didn't have to vet them as a client, which I know how to do. But one of them in particular, all of a sudden the light went on. It's like, oh, this guy has no interest in paying us for anything ever. This is all about how much can he get us to do for free. And, it's covered in the sensory package of this monster mansion of a home, monster pool. I mean, it was like a water park, great big cement structure with a lagoon underneath a mountain and water slides and fountains. So you think, oh, good client, they're going to be great. They won't have any problem paying. Didn't want to pay for anything.
Worst client.
And I had assumed there were a couple like that, but he was the big one. He's the one that financially got us right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And I think you were there when I talked to him, right? Were you there when I was like, I get it. You don't.
I think I missed that.
Us anything. Someone else was in the office, and I remember that it was like, Bill.
Yes, I was in the office. Yes.
Bill's not real happy with him, right?
Yeah. We both had a couple of moments where one of us wasn't very happy with the other one. So
yeah.
or with somebody.
No, yeah, with somebody. Yeah, while the other one is in the office, and it's like, I get it.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
like that. That's just your thing. Huh?
that's the one thing I wouldn't do.
What's that?
The way that we ended up terminating the office manager.
Well,
Probably
sometimes
wouldn't do
your
it that way.
emotions get the best of you.
Yeah. 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 So, yeah. Everybody has their breaking point, and when you just kind of lose control. And I had one of those, which was,
you got to give yourself some grace, because we both do things differently. Anybody watching this, you're going to do things your way, and you're not going to do it all perfect. And guess what? That's a risk. Your staff aren't going to be perfect. Your customers aren't going to be perfect. Sometimes you're not going to be perfect.
Sometimes, a lot of times I'm not going to be perfect.
You're going to do stuff that, in this case, I won't get into the weeds very far, but this was not a great moment in our marriage. It's kind of funny now looking back on it. But she took one path, and I was in the same room, and I was just like, whoa, you can't do that. You can't say that. Because of my HR experience. It's like, no, slow it down, tone it down. And she was like, are you on my side or not? I thought you were supposed to be on my side, but I'm not
backing me up. And you're looking at me like you're,
Yeah. So that was funny to talk about now. And frankly, I don't know that I'd do it any differently, because that's, you got to have that freedom to do that.
We're human.
I've had times like that. I remember we had a fairly good sized business, and the manager was for some reason smitten with this really bad behaving employee. And the manager could look at me and go, I know that she's doing this. I know it's wrong. I know it. And I'm like, you got to get rid of her.
Yep.
And she's like, let me think about it. And in that particular meeting, I said, where's she at? Is she here? Yeah. Find her. Bring her down, bring her to this. We were in like a living space in this larger building. And so she went and got her and set her down. And I said, this is your last day. Brought you down here to let you know you're done. And the manager, I had not told the manager what I was going to do. I think she thought I was going to give her like a final warning. You're done. Yep. What? You can't do that. I just did. I did. You're done. You, as the manager, I'm disappointed that I'm having to have this meeting. But otherwise, you do a fabulous job. The fact that she somehow got herself wrapped around your finger or whatever, that's not going to work for me. Nope, not getting one more phone call like this. I'm not going to have one more problem like this. That you're done. I'm going to call the office right now. We're going to get your final check ready. You might as well just go get in your car. And that was it. And I mean, there's just times that maybe it wasn't
all
the right
that to
thing
say. You're just living and learning along with everybody else. It sounds like we're, I don't know, not preaching, but from our own experiences, it's how we're giving ourselves grace. Human.
Well, in those early on, though, in those cases, you suffer a lot because you're not sure. And I'm not trying to say that we're great. I'm just trying to say it's okay. It's okay to, it could be a customer. It's like, hey, I don't want you for a customer anymore. No, totally agree. Goodbye. We're not. I didn't do that very often because of, that 5-star Google review is always on my mind. But anyway.
Yeah, and that might be a good point to wrap up on, because I feel like we kind of trailed off. But it's okay to fire customers. That would be one more thing, that there were customers that I think we could have fired earlier, and not meaning, if you've never done that before, in business, it doesn't mean you're, get mad at them or whatever. Go about it a few ways. You can either, they are causing me a lot of manual labor, pain, stress, whatever. Mm-hmm. We're going to raise the prices to an uncomfortable point. If they say yes, well, okay, then maybe it's worth it. Or they say, man, that's too high. I can't do that anymore. It's like, we get it. If you need to go someplace else,
no hard feelings.
No hard feelings. That's the best. That's the dream. And then they just leave, and there was no big emotions.
Or you want to get paid first.
Yeah, or you want to get,
especially on those commercial accounts that can get long in the tooth. It's like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm gonna. There's my estimate. Here's my quote. I'm gonna need you to pay me. Well, can we do 50%? No, because it's going to take too long to get the other 50%, and they'll know it. I mean, slow pay clients know they're slow pay clients. Yeah, but they have no hesitation in asking for grace. But at the same time, you can be and
that would be the thing I think that we would change is doing exactly what you just said
earlier.
Because earlier, because
by the time we sold, we'd pretty much wiped that out, and we weren't doing any of that anymore anywhere. So
our
receivables
but it was painful.
Were the buyer that bought our business was like, your receivables are really small. It's like, it's because we both hate it. So we do everything we can not to happen.
Yep.
And if it's a problem, then we just don't have that customer. And by doing a good job with all of your customers, It's all right. I get more. There's more. Yeah, my
Sure.
problem's finding great staff that I can keep up with the business, not finding the business. Because once you get a reputation for doing a good job, then you don't really have to do a lot of marketing. Anyway, that's another topic altogether. So that is what we do differently. Thanks for joining us today on Route to Freedom. We hope to do more of these, of course. If you have any comments, questions that you'd like us to cover or talk about, we'd love to see the comments. And like, subscribe, and let us know how we're doing. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you again next time.